In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. Our guest today is Kristen Christy, who is a 2018 Air Force Military Spouse of the Year. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Miss Christy.
Good.
So you are also, as most of my guests, a woman who is hard to catch up with. But I'm so grateful you're giving us this time of your day to share with us on Military Home Life Radio.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love seeing you every time I'm in D.C. and the beauty of technology is we can still stay in touch, even if it's not eyeball to eyeball.
Yes, I know. I don't know how we did it. Well, I do. I lost a lot of numbers because I couldn't keep a phone book to save my life back in the day. So I'm glad we got this iPhone where it keeps all your numbers in there now.
That's right.
So I want to talk about just an update on you as far as the Military Spouse of the Year experience. How was that overall experience for you?
It was absolutely phenomenal. It was overwhelming at times.
Why is that?
I didn't want to miss out on anything, but there were just some times where, schedules didn't work out, and there were 6 of us. We call it our class, the 2018 class, IMSOI class, all the branch winners. And we have become such a tight family. We are still in constant contact with one another. We're planning a reunion with the branch winners, and hopefully our families can join us. But the whole year experience increased my family with amazing people from amazing places, and I have learned so much and had such amazing opportunities almost land at my feet. I keep having to pinch myself, but one thing that I've realized with this last year is I can't do everything, and I can't accept invitations to everything.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yep.
It's absolutely okay. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have other opportunities to tell our story, to meet people, to find out about other resources.
Yeah. As far as for those who don't know your story, and those who don't, shame on them. But as far as your platform was suicide awareness and prevention. How busy were you with that platform?
Very.
Yeah.
We had, as the award recipient, the award was for what we've done in the past.
Right.
And there have been some that have accepted the award graciously and have said thank you, and they don't have a platform. You don't have to have a platform when you win. But those of us who have a platform, for me, it was a springboard. So the 2019 Air Force Military Spouse of the Year, Caitlin Tinsley, is at Seymour Johnson, and she was awarded in May of this year, and she is doing great things. But I used my year, the 2018, as a springboard. So, for example, last weekend, 2 days ago on Saturday, I gave my 87th presentation on suicide prevention and our family story in the last 13 months.
Wow.
I've had 31 trips. For instance, for the month of September, which is Suicide Prevention Month, and it was also part of General Goldfein and Chief Wright's Resiliency Tactical Pause initiative, which was just the beginning, not a one-and-done program, just the beginning. But in the month of September this year, I was home in Colorado Springs for a total of 52 hours, not all at the same time.
That's a lot.
That's
not a lot.
I am not begrudging any portion of that. And my husband, bless his heart, he is the spouse of a lifetime, is fully on board. But we have reached tens of thousands of mainly airmen, trying to reach out to the other branches, but airmen, spouses, family members, community members, telling our story and spreading the message of hope and getting the conversation going. I had an experience at one base in September that someone walked out of my presentation right after we played my son's voicemail. My son, Ben, our youngest child, played his voicemail. This gentleman got up, walked out, and went straight to mental health. And he handed them a piece of paper, and he said, "This is my plan." And it was his plan on how he was taking his life that night. Wow. But he has 2 small boys, and he heard my son's voicemail, and he said, "I need help."
Wow.
That is worth 87 speaking engagements, 31 trips, and home for 52 hours in 1 month.
So that's their takeaway. What has been your takeaway from all these experiences?
Oh, we are each and every one of us so different, but we have so much in common, whether we have a military background or not. We are all human beings, and we all have stories. We all have a voice to be able to tell our story, to help other people. But I've come to a better understanding that we are all wired differently.
Yeah.
That standing up in front of a room full of people is not a lot of people's cup of tea. But when we can get outside of our comfort zone, I like to try and think of my comfort zone as my escape room. When I can escape, or any of us can escape from our comfort zone and be able to tell our story, it helps, us heal, because it helps me heal every time I tell our story. 2, we have no idea what battle people are waging.
Yeah. I hear
and
that.
Our story can help them understand that they are not alone. But sometimes it's just sitting one-on-one across the table from someone, or as we're doing today, thousands of miles apart, but on the phone, and it's that connectivity. And I truly believe that all of us want a sense of connectivity. And sometimes we need to be compassionately intrusive. That's a phrase I've been using a lot lately. When we're compassionately intrusive, we show up and we do something when we know in our gut that someone is not doing okay, even if they say they are.
Yep.
And we don't want to walk away from that.
We're going to have to take a break. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more in depth in regards to what you've been doing, and also in regards to your family when we get back, okay?
Okay.
All right. This is Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. We'll be right back right after this.
What if you could turn on the radio in Washington, D.C. and be in the know, in the flow, and up to date on all that makes the district great? Get ready for DC Radio on 96.3 HD4, where the city comes alive. We'll be playing music featuring DC area artists, all the interviews with people who make a difference in the district, entertainment, news, local artists, your connection to everything Washington, D.C. From Washington, D.C. and for Washington, D.C. All the majesty, diversity, vibrancy, and culture of D.C. on the air 24/7, 365. Our people. From our monuments to our neighborhoods, all 8 wards. We'll be highlighting what the mayor is doing and what's going on in city council. We'll be reaching out to seniors and the youth. That's what D.C. is all about.
From D.C.
From D.C.
For D.C.
For D.C. DC Radio 96.3 HD4, Washington.
I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. Our guest today is Kristen Christy, who is the Air Force Spouse of the Year for 2018. I've known you for a while now, Miss Christy.
Yes, ma'am.
And as I said on a previous episode, you being on here, I did not know. I knew you, but I did not know your story until you won Military Spouse of the Year for the Air Force. Could you just share with us again your story, especially in regards to as far as suicide prevention and suicide awareness?
You bet. And I will say that it's been a long time, and this award gave me a voice to tell our story. And basically, my first husband committed suicide after deployment. It was a while after deployment. It was 4 years after deployment. He had gone to Baghdad and was second in command of the airport there. And so we, being at home, knew about some of the fun stuff, believe it or not, yes, fun stuff he got to do over in Baghdad, like meet Toby Keith and Ted Nugent when they came through on a USO tour.
Yes.
And meet Donald Rumsfeld, who was the Secretary of Defense in 2004, meet people out on the tarmac, but didn't understand really what was going on. There were things that he couldn't talk about, and it wasn't clearance related by any means, but he definitely came back after those 4.5 months different. And he was more withdrawn than usual, wasn't sleeping. His fingernails were chewed down to the nubs, and I knew something was wrong. And, with what I knew, I was trying to find the help that, for us, for our family. And then we got an assignment to Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And after being at Air War College with my dad and family when I was in elementary school, it really, truly was a fantastic year. So I thought that was going to solve some problems for us and reintegrate the family. And it helped a little bit, but our marriage was still pretty rocky, and things changed a lot. We were told we were going to the Pentagon after Army War College, and so we sold our custom home in Colorado Springs and planning on a new adventure. And the Air Force changed its mind and wanted us to move back to Colorado Springs. And that was a really tough PCS for us, trying to reintegrate back into our community that we had gotten embedded in. But a year after we moved back, Don took his life. Our boys were 14 and 12 at the time. And our family was just a mess. It was a mess before that, but even more so. And then our oldest son, Ryan, who was 14, he's 26 now, has been missing for 1,505 days today. That's over 4 years. He's off the grid. He has not used his Social Security number nor his passport. He was diagnosed with bipolar a little over a year after Don's suicide. And bipolar typically presents itself, from what I understand from the doctors and all, in the early to mid-20s. And I think that if he had had time to mature those 5, 6, 7 years, maybe things would be different. And I pray, I have a very solid foundation of faith, and I pray that Ryan is on this side of heaven. But if he's not, I know where he is. My kids grew up in the church, and as a parent, I just want to know. Our youngest son, Ben, was 12. He's 24 now. Both of the kids had attempted suicide. Ben has had a tough time, and he will for the rest of his life, but he's adjusted. He's found community. He is now a contractor out at Edwards Air Force Base, living in Lancaster, California, which is not typically a happening place for an early 20-year-old, 24-year-old. But he's learning a lot out there and has gotten embedded in his community at Edwards and is adjusting. I'm very proud of him for that. But we use our family story to talk about the aftermath of suicide, to help give some people that pause that they need to understand some of the ramifications.
Yeah.
I wish that I could have done things differently. One of the acronyms I talk about in my presentation is the word FAIL, FAIL, and it was my therapist that helped me understand that FAIL just means first attempt in learning or further attempt in learning. It does not mean final attempt in learning. We are always learning from every experience in our life, positive or negative. And so when I can tell our story, talk about the hope, talk about the sense of community and how important it is that we feel respected, protected, and connected, that hopefully it will help other people. We know that it's helped some, and it helps me heal in the process. I can't go back and change things in the past, but I can certainly help to change other people's lives in the future with our story.
Now, as far as when I interviewed you for the TV special last year, you said if I can just help one, just one, then sharing your story is worth it. It sounds like you've helped more than one. And how do you feel about that?
So very blessed. It is what keeps me going.
Yeah.
To try and get our story out there more. And it's really my son's voicemail is the thing that is
I know, as far
really
as
making the positive.
As far as, and I thank God for you to sharing such an intimate part of your family, hearing his plea for help, because most of us have that plea internally. We have a hard time expressing it externally, and so for you and him to share that, because it pierces the soul for those who are struggling, to say, I don't have to be silent. It's okay to say help out loud. So I thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yep, thank you. I talk about how there's no room for strangers on this battlefield, because we are very much at war with depression, anxiety, suicide, but there's also no room for silence.
Yes.
And it takes such courage to verbalize that we need help. We all do need help. And you don't have to stand up on the top of a tabletop and yell it from the mountaintop. It's just a matter of you can pass a note to someone who is there to help. Our chaplains corps is 100% confidential. We have resources at every single installation in DOD. They may have different names. The Airmen and Family Readiness on an Air Force base, military and family readiness on a joint base. They've got the same resources. We've got family advocacy. Military One Source is a fantastic resource for us.
Yes.
It takes community. And for those that have the blinders of depression on or anxiety, it takes someone else within that community to help them, lead them to that resource.
We're gonna have to take a break. I'm sorry, but when we come back, I want to continue the conversation and then also know what you're up to for the rest of this year and the upcoming year when we get back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. We'll be right back right after this.
DC Radio, where you can hear district creatives with Sevi Charisse.
One of the conversations that we have on the show is how to monetize your creative gifts and abilities.
Hearing the Council with Josh Gibson.
You'll learn about policy, learn about people, learn about history, and learn about the institution.
Wit and Reason with Dr. Alexis Moreno.
It seems like there's still a lot of confusion and misunderstanding surrounding the concept of love, so let's break it down.
Raiding the Crates with John Avery.
You're raiding the crates on DC Radio, and we're just getting started. So let's kick this party into high gear.
And Rememories for Seniors with Elliot Michael Gold.
The people we love and admire and who set the beat and the music of our lives.
DC Radio, 96.3 and DCRadio.gov. In DC, for DC.
I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. We're here with our guest today, Kristen Christy, the 2018 Air Force Military Spouse of the Year. Kristen, we've been talking about your family and also talking about the amazing work that you're doing with your story, sharing your story, not only sharing story, but saving lives, saving families, delivering families.
So blessed.
But I'm not gonna go there because I'll start preaching on my own show. Life after Military Spouse of the Year. It sounds like there hasn't really been a change as far as you're still moving forward.
I am.
Yeah.
I have found my passion and what sets my soul on fire. Whether it's meeting with spouses and talking about some of the issues that our military spouse community is dealing with, speaking in auditoriums or being on panels. I'm very excited about next year. I have a few more trips for 2019. I'll be going to Scott Air Force Base and to Air University, as well as San Diego. This morning, I just got an invitation for Fort Carson here in Colorado Springs, my own backyard. So most of my engagements have been to the Air Force, and very excited about getting into DOD wide. I've got trips scheduled for Misawa, Japan, and Thule in Greenland, Mildenhall in the UK. I am planning on writing a book. So you and I had talked about
a screenplay
possibilities further on down the road and all. And I went to a Christian Writers Conference, and I have some publishing houses that are interested in our story.
Wonderful.
And a ghostwriter who's interested in helping me with that, as well as still working on March 4th, getting March 4th as a National Day for Survivors, working with Senator Cory Gardner and Senator Michael Bennett's office, trying to see if we can get that as an executive order or proclamation in the Senate as a National Day for Survivors, perseverance in the face of adversity, because no matter what the obstacle, we put one foot in front of the other, and we march forth and conquer.
Yep.
And then I've also started a nonprofit here in Colorado Springs with 2 partners. We are looking at buying 380 acres of land, and we are going to build the National Veterans Vocational Village. We call it NV3 for short, with tiny homes, Americans with Disability Act compliant homes, a village squared much like Europe that has the resources that they need for employment, counseling. We're going to have a golf course with adaptive golf, drone golf, which is something new, and a lake for fishing. Very excited about the possibilities. And then eventually an airstrip, and put wounded veterans who are paraplegics back in the cockpit to teach them how to fly. And that is based on the March 5th proclamation that President Trump signed this year, the Veteran Suicide Prevention Act.
Well, kudos for you.
So, yeah, the sky is the limit.
Yeah, yeah. We're out of time. But you're welcome back
I love
anytime.
chatting with you.
I know.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. You, my friend, are doing amazing things.
Thank you.
For the military, for the community as a whole. And we are so very appreciative of what you do, and to raise our platforms and help us. Thank you. And I can't wait to put my arms around you next time.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. I'm going to have to sign off. I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to Military Home Life Radio. We'll be right back to wrap up.
In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.